Hi home cooks! Today I'm in the kitchen making a Canadian Prairie vintage dessert, the flapper pie.
This charming little Canadian pie is made with a graham cracker crust, a homemade vanilla custard, and a cloud of marshmallowy meringue on top. This pie was popularized in the 1920s and 30s during the war and the Great Depression, so you know it's gonna be budget friendly. This is something that home cooks could make when they didn't have much money, but they still wanted to enjoy a little dessert after dinner.
This dessert was found across Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. The ingredients were inexpensive and easy to come by. If you're just finding this vintage favorite for the first time, or looking to recreate an old family recipe, then you've got to give this one a try.
So let's get into the kitchen. This is how I make a Canadian flapper pie.
To start this recipe, I'm going to make a graham cracker crust. To do this, you can either crush 20 graham crackers into little crumbs, or you can buy store-bought graham cracker crumbs. I'm just going to mix this in my pie plate with 1/3 cup of melted butter. After all of your graham cracker crumbs are coated in the butter, spread it out evenly along the bottom and up the sides of the pan. You can do this either with your fingers, a spatula, or the bottom of a flat-bottomed cup. Now you don't absolutely need to bake this pie crust. You can just put it in the fridge to chill while you get on with making the pie filling. However, I find that baking it for about 10 minutes just helps the pie shell stay together a little better. If you're going to bake yours, it's going to go into a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. And it's going to bake for 10 minutes. Remove it from the oven and set it aside to cool while we get on with making the pie filling. I'm using a heavy bottom saucepan here. This is just going to help everything heat evenly so that the delicate custard doesn't overcook on the stovetop. I'm going to whisk together 2/3 cup of white sugar, 1/4 cup of cornstarch, 1/4 cup of flour, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then gradually whisk in 3 cups of whole milk. I'm going to heat this over medium heat until it starts to thicken and simmer. Then, while whisking constantly, I'm going to allow the mixture to cook for 2 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm going to separate 4 eggs. With the egg yolks, we're going to make the vanilla custard, and at the end, with the egg whites, we're going to whisk a fluffy meringue topping. Now that my milk mixture has heated and thickened, I'm going to use it to temper the egg yolks. To temper the eggs, we're going to slowly increase the temperature. This is going to ensure that the eggs don't cook and turn into little chunks of scrambled eggs in the custard. While whisking the egg yolks, I'm going to gradually add in half of the hot milk mixture. Then, while whisking the hot milk mixture, add the tempered eggs back into the pot. Once everything is mixed together, I'm going to return it to the heat and whisk until it comes just to a simmer again. And by now the custard mixture should feel quite thick. Remove it from the heat and stir in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 2 tablespoons of butter. And my vanilla custard is ready to get layered into my prepared pie shell. You can set this aside to cool and then chill in the fridge until you're ready to serve it. And just before serving, we're going to mix up the meringue to go on top. In a large bowl, I'm going to add in the 4 egg whites. To mix the perfect fluffy meringue, it's important that no added fat gets mixed into the egg whites. That means when you're separating the eggs, make sure none of the yolk breaks and gets mixed into the egg white. I'm going to beat the egg together with 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. And I'm going to beat this until I have soft peaks. Then with the machine still beating, I'm going to gradually add in 3 tablespoons of sugar. Then continue to beat the meringue until you have stiff peaks. I'm also just going to feel the meringue with my fingers to make sure there's no grainy bits from the sugar left inside. And my meringue is ready to spread evenly on top of the pie. And to make sure your pie is beautifully decorative, give a little swoops and swirls with a spoon to make sure you have lots of little peaks on top of the meringue. This is going to give that toasted marshmallow look after the pie comes out of the oven. And finally, to decorate the top of the pie, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon and some of the graham cracker crumbs on top. And my pie is ready to go into my preheated oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius. And it's going to bake for 5 minutes, just enough time to lightly toast the top of the meringue. Remove the pie from the oven and let it cool slightly. Then it's ready to slice and serve. This dreamy dessert is made without expensive ingredients and is perfect to serve for the holidays, Sunday dinners, or anytime you're craving a homemade dessert. A beloved Canadian vintage recipe that's been passed down through generations. It's similar to other creamy pies like banana cream pie, chocolate silk pie, lemon meringue, and coconut cream pie. So if you're a fan of those nostalgic recipes, this one belongs in your baking collection too.
And as always, you can find a link to the full written recipe in the description box below.
Enjoy! If you're a fan of deliciously simple vintage recipes and old-fashioned skills, then you'll want to check out this next video. Thanks so much for stopping by.